computer, it's kind of you fill in the line, but if you don't take out from the old person, that comes in, goes into the new letter. And so, yes, it's easy to go ahead and make mistakes, but unless you get it to Daniel's attention or to mine, we can't do anything about it.
Well, what we'd like to see as residents of that property is to have an understanding with the county that we are a unique community, both by the age of our homes and just by the fact of our location near the water and the fact that a lot of our properties are oddly shaped. We have a lot of issues that other communities do not. And it's complicated by the fact that the records are not accurate. So what we'd like to see is an understanding with the county that we have to have some way of grandfathering in what currently exists, just by the nature that this stuff has been here for so long, and then look at the deltas that have occurred since then, since some line in the sand. If everyone's going to be held to the same standard, then no home can belong under the floodplain, and that's just not an acceptable standard. There's the regulations that affect what could be below the floodplain head. It wasn't just one line in sand. There was different levels at different times. So there was one line in 1980, another one in 1990. So you have to give a little bit of leeway to the property owners, not come in and immediately start red tagging and condemning everything. Give everybody an opportunity and give the benefit of the doubt to the homeowners. At some point in time, property values are going to increase, and someone's not going to want that little fishing shack. But if you synthetically keep the property values low because you keep disallowing people the opportunity to fix their properties, the property values will not take off, and we'll have these little scratches and these problems going for some time. So give everybody the opportunity to fix their homes, bring them up to a good code so that they're safe. As you heard, we lost 10 houses in 2 years. Whether it was due to electrical problems or whatever, we don't know. But at some point, the county's got to start working with us instead of against us.
The goal here and the reason why we're here, the grandfathering in has to go to something that was pre-48. And we can usually go ahead and tell by the type of construction as to when the materials were put in. If you, well, that's when the 48, what I mentioned earlier, was that's when the planning department and the building inspection department were formed. Before that, there wasn't any regulations and you can build anything you want to. We ran the same problem in Crockett. Those houses there go back to the 1800s and 1900s. And we went to them and we looked at people, the places, and we looked at them and said, we could tell by this water heater has 1999 on it. You can't tell me that water heater goes back to 1950. That these are vinyl windows in here. You can't tell me these vinyl windows go back to 1950. We can look at it and say, you got knob and tube wiring in here. There's a very good chance that goes back before 1948. And based on they have the 2-inch stubs rather than the 1.5-inch stubs. Very good chance that would go back before 1950. And so there are means that we can go ahead and look at how to make your argument that this house goes back. Likewise, you know, they use button boards. They didn't use sheetrock. And so we can sometimes tell by the materials when things were built.
Yeah, but Mike, if you go into it with the attitude that you're looking to catch people, they're not going to invite you in for you to help them move forward. I think everybody out here wants to have a safe home. They want to have a safe community. They want to have a nice looking community. But there's this adversarial environment between the county. And it goes back years. I mean, I can give you a list of the number of roads that got moved so that people had to buy an adjacent property just to get to the road. There was a lot of that shenanigans that went on back in the 40s, up to the 50s, all the way up until now, and people just don't quite trust the county. And because of that, that's, you know, people are going to try to keep their homes standing because they know that there's some guy sitting around the corner wanting to turn them in just because they're bastards.
Okay, and I understand that. Where I live, I don't think I'd want the inspector to come into my house either. You know, or the local policeman. I don't, you know, when he's knocking my door, I'll probably say, where's your warrant? And don't come in. And so I can understand that. And it's how do we go ahead and get above it? You know, part of our job is to go ahead and when we receive a complaint, to investigate it and say, yeah, that looks like a brand new kitchen in there. Or that looks like there's a second unit was put in that garage. At what point, how do we find out that we're wrong or you're right without getting in there to look at it? And if I'm in there to look at it, there are times where I can go in there and look at something and says, wait a minute, this is a garage conversion. It's now a bedroom in here, and you got a water heater and a furnace in here. I can go ahead and kill somebody. You know, I can't go ahead and say, I didn't see that, because that is more dangerous than anything else that was done there. So, and I'm not sure how to go about that, to make it so that there is part of that trust, and it can only happen, I believe, if a few people give us a chance, and we can go ahead and see what we can do to verify this is when it looked like it was done. Now, it doesn't always mean that you need to get rid of everything. You know, if you remodel your bathroom and kitchen, and they're pretty well up to code, you're not going to have a problem.
I think that's off your tone. If you can get that voice out there, it'll go a long way. People are afraid you're going to come in with a tape measure and find out the studs are 16 and a half instead of 16 inches, and you're going to have to tear it down. And again, it's not without precedent. That's what has happened out there in the past. And that's what you want to say now.
You know, one of the things I look for is that we're looking to go ahead and get the case closed as fast as possible. That's how we're judged by the supervisor's office. And if we go out there and start tearing a whole bunch of things down, the county's going to get less money because the valuation of your property is going to go down. So that's not my interest, because that's where a lot of my fellow employees get the salary from. And so we want as much building as possible and as safe as possible. I think there was one question.
Yeah.
I just want to ask, my name is Robert Levin. I'm Vice President of Pivot. And prior to this meeting, I've inundated with calls and emails. Let's cut to the chase. Robert Erickson. He's out of control. He's not using any discretion.
Needs to be taken out. Should be in jail.
Because nothing that you have said here tonight is going to happen unless you start controlling this guy.
Okay, and my recommendation is when you get these things here, Gano is immediately over him. He's there in the same office. He sees, he has access to his files. Call Gano and let him know what the problem is.
We've done
Excuse me. Tim Griffith.
It's done.
And then
One at a time.
Because then I will go ahead and talk to Gano and talk to Robert and see what the case is.
Excuse me, sir. Tim Griffith, to my face, laughed and told me if Robert Erickson is pissing me off, that's good, because that way he knows he's doing his job. That was his exact words from Tim Griffith. And anyways, if there is an alleged complaint and you prove that there is no violation, why should you be written up for a half of a dozen other, actually non-existent violations? It's a violation of our Fourth Amendment right.
Illegal search.
But yet we proved that there was no violation, but yet you write us up on something else.
It's retaliatory. It's the example I used earlier of we went in there to look at that bedroom, which would probably be okay if it wasn't a water heater and furnace in there. And we can't say we didn't see that water heater and furnace. Because if somebody should die of carbon monoxide, then everybody's going to be jumping up and down and saying that inspector needs to go.
That doesn't answer the question.
It gives the police power, though.
You said earlier that you wouldn't let the police in your property if they didn't have a warrant. Now, can Robert just come walking into your property and make measurements and say, oh, that's not right, that's not right?
Robert